If you have an interview for PA school coming up and you need help with your interview prep, then this video is for you. I am going to be sharing the #1 tip I got when preparing for my interviews. I interviewed at UF, USF, where else? South Tampa, South Austin, Wake Forest, and FIU. The only place I didn't get in was USF. Every other place I ended up getting in either right away or off the wait list. And the #1 tip I got that I think really helped was that for almost every single question, you need to answer it with a story. Now, what does that mean? I'll give you an example. So I had like 3 or 4 stories prepared for like a group of questions, because every interview, like once you've interviewed a couple places, you'll notice that like you get asked essentially the same question in just different wording. So one of them was about working with a difficult provider, like my weakness, which I was able to use the same story for, accepting criticism, like those groups of like working with a difficult provider questions. I would tell a story about how I worked with a difficult provider, and I ended up learning that he wasn't really difficult, he wasn't mean, he just had a set way of doing things and people were scared of him because of that. And as long as I did those I followed his directions, I did what he wanted me to do, everything was fine, and we ended up, having a great relationship, and I loved working with him. So that is a story that I would use to answer like those 4 types of questions I talked about earlier. So as long as you have like 4 or 5 stories that you can use for a bunch, like a bulk, like a, like 4 or 5 group questions, then you will always have something to at least fall back on if you can't think of like an exact answer on the spot like that. And I think that really helped me, because I found I was telling these stories a lot because they just applied to so many questions, and I felt like they showed who I was. Like I volunteered to work with a difficult provider. That shows I'm willing to do what needs to be done to get the job done. I was able to have a great relationship and do what he wants when other people were scared. That shows that I am able to, follow directions and work well with others. Like these stories share more about you than you can tell. Do you know what I mean? Like it's showing, not telling. And I think that's very important. And I really do think that helped me get into all the schools I got into. If you have any other questions, leave them in the comments. I'd love to answer. I've been helping all of my friends with their interview prep. I am not an expert by any means. I absolutely hate when people get into PA school and they're like acting like they're an expert on PA admissions. Like I have no idea why I got in, but I did. But I would love to share what I used and like what I think helped. So if you have any questions, comment them below.